How are you guys? Good morning.
Yeah, well,
Nathan, how are you?
I am fantastic,
right.
but I must say, Nathan, you were a big man.
Really?
Hi,
I
Charlie.
didn't know that.
You know, yesterday I was in the Zongos in my neighborhood. You know, there was a football guy.
Yeah, there was,
Charlie.
I saw that you tweeted something.
Some guys see me, no, Charlie. The guy say he's a guy, but if he sees Nathan, Charlie.
So you mean
Charlie say he's too much in love.
you mean the guy is a guy,
Charlie.
but Nathan is a couple.
Charlie.
Look, Chanwai.
His name is Louis. He's a medical scientist. And he was
Okay.
like, Charlie, as for Nathan, Charlie, when I hear Charlie, something is doing me. So he says I should tell you good morning. And then I met
Louis,
a nurse
good
too.
morning.
She's also in love with you. Nah, Dede. She's at Kolebu. Charlie.
Okay.
She loves everybody, but Charlie.
She loves you more.
Adore.
At least now I know where I can get free X-ray and things.
Look, let me tell you.
Charlie, you get fans.
Even the healthcare workers, they don't have free healthcare services in the facilities they work with. So don't think that if now they likes you, you can get free X-ray at
No,
Kolebu.
just easy access. But anyway, now that the good morning and all the health workers and everybody who listen to us. Good morning.
Charlie, but me yesterday, Charlie, the way they were mentioning your name in the Zongos and Charlie, I was impressed. I was there to watch football. I ended up having to answer questions about your life.
Oh,
So if
really?
they start pushing about your life, know that it's
You are the source.
I reviewed the filler.
That's fine.
Anyway, Nathan, over the Christmas season, I went to Kumasi, and the
Kumerica.
toll booth has been demolished.
Oh,
Led by
The minister.
Kwesi Amakwata,
Yes,
the
the
Minister
Terminator.
for Roads and Highways. And this morning, 5:10 a.m., I get a message from somebody who lives along the Kaswa route and says, Kojo, it's 5:10, 5:15-ish, and there is mad traffic here. When are we terminating that toll booth? So that's a question I want to put across to the minister.
Let me get to the front page of the Daily Graphic now, Nathan, and it's elections, and more elections, and then you can add politics, and more politics.
And then some.
Yes, front page says, and also COVID, and more.
More COVID.
More COVID stories in the dailies today. Election petition incompetent. EC Akufo-Addo. Supreme Court to hear Mohammed's motion for correction Thursday. Former ministers to take charge of ministries. Spio Gabra calls for all-inclusive government. Nawuni flood victims still live in classrooms, but schools finally reopen. Hey, problem.
Now, the Ghanaian Times has the EC election petition story, but their big story is about the fire at Abu Station in Kumasi. They write that fire gas 3-story building at Abu Station destroys 30 stores, items worth thousands of cedis. This happened in Kumasi over the weekend. If you go to Republic Hall, KNUST, the mini market, it also recorded a fire incident. The shops were all burnt, but it didn't get to the main hall, and no students were harmed. Or no property of a student was lost. Now let's go to the other stories on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. President EC respond to election petition, urges Supreme Court to dismiss it. And reopening of senior high schools in Volta region. Government disinfects, provides all schools with PPE. And Roberts attack Keta MP again.
Front page of the Daily Guide newspaper, President dissolves cabinet, appoints caretaker ministers. Nana EC respond to Mahama petition. And Nana is also thanking Asantemai at Akwesidai. We will give you details of that. As Ashanti schools, disinfection also underway.
Now the Chronicle, Mahama files to amend error in petition at Supreme Court. President Akufo-Addo and EC plead with the Supreme Court to throw out Mahama. And they say his petition is incompetent and frivolous. NPP national executives accuse Subin MP of having an agenda against them, and land guards chase out Kitasi chief.
Front page of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Dismiss JM's weak and empty petition, Akufo-Addo tells Supreme Court. NPP chairman calls on NEC to investigate and sanction MPs. Ghana Oil Company in trouble over $15 million suit is also here.
Now, the Finder, ex-President Mahama files motion for amendment of election petition. Nanado, Mahama's petition is incompetent, frivolous. Now, Nanado is speaking again. He says he's passionate about Ghana's development. NPP leadership rejects blame for Speaker fiasco. Dismiss Mahama's incompetent petition. This is the EC. And NPP candidate petitions courts against Savelugu constituency election results.
Front page of the Ghanaian Publisher. We didn't set a good example. Obi Amwa on Inauguration Day blues. Will Right Honorable Backbin be used to frustrate MPP? That is the question the newspaper is asking. They also have a big headline dedicated to Akufo-Addo's response to the Mahama petition at the Supreme Court. This is a frivolous, incompetent petition, Akufo-Addo to Mahama.
So 2 stories from the Kwapim South area are getting cover page attention. The first one is the Kitasi Chief story I read. Second one is what you read of Obi Amwa, and it's also here in the Custodian. Inauguration Day scuffle embarrassing to Parliament. Obi Amwa, MP for Kwapim South. Dismiss election petition. EC urges Supreme Court. And your petition is incompetent, frivolous, and vexatious. Akufo-Addo's lawyers reply, Mahama.
If you go online on citinewsroom.com, it says MPP leadership cannot be blamed for Okwe's defeat. John Boadu's aide. Upon Nkrumah, 4 others named as Akufo-Addo spokespersons in election petition case. Akufo-Addo dissolves interministerial committee on illegal mining, and in the Ashanti region, several shops gutted by fire at Abuabu Station. On citybusinessnews.com, it says Ghana set for first Sub-Saharan African LNG to power project. Businesses upbeat about conducive environments for growth in 2021, and that is a video. GIFF to review new port tariffs before implementation, and the president says my second term will focus on building strong economy for youth employment, and he also says government charged to reduce cost of power in second term. If you go to My Joy Online, Daniel Domelevo, the Auditor General, says I'll resume work on March 3, not January 11. That's what he's saying there. Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining dissolved. Mahama's election petition born out of unfounded imagination. Dismiss it. Akufo-Addo urges Supreme Court. Disregard report saying 17 persons died in fire incident. That's from the KNUS in relation to the fire on their campus. And MP for Keta attacked again. If you go to the Ghana News Agency's website, says EP Church inducts Reverend Agbeko, Reverend Dr. Agbeko as moderator. Fire outbreaks in Kumasi leave variety of property destroyed. Gold Star Air Honest Asante Hene Otumfo 32 II. And the president says Mahama's electoral petition incompetent, frivolous, and vexatious. And the president is also saying he's passionate about Ghana's development. If you go to the East African, it says Uganda wraps up violent and chaotic election campaign. About 8 in 10 Africans will accept vaccine. That's according to the Africa CDC. And in Rwanda, they have launched a new COVID-19 treatment center, which has a capacity of admitting 140 patients under the intensive or in the intensive care unit, guys.
Okay, so I'll start from the center spread of the Ghanaian Times. President EC respond to election petition, urges Supreme Court to dismiss it. Malik Suleiman arrives that lawyers of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party in the December 7 general elections, have asked the Supreme Court to dismiss the petition challenging the declaration of Akufo-Addo as the winner of the election. They said that the petition is incompetent, devoid of substance, and does not measure up to the legal criteria or an action invoking the jurisdiction of the Apex Court under Article 64, Clause 1 of the Constitution of 1992. So that is one angle. Now, the EC has also responded to the petition. Now, the EC in its response says it would raise preliminary legal objection to the effect that the petition was incompetent because the petitioner failed to raise reasonable cause of action.
Well, in line with that, there's a story on citynewsroom.com that is detailing who have been mandated to speak for the MPP side on their petition. Now it says Kojo Nkrumah, who's member of parliament for Ofuasia Yorubi, Yababia Sama, who's the national comms director of the MPP, Henry Nana Boache, national youth organizer, and Fatih Abubakar, deputy comms director at the presidency, and Nanajwa Adobia Sante, legal committee member. These are the people who can speak on matters of the Akufo-Addo petition in the election petition case.
Well, speaking of the president, he was in the Ashanti region over the weekend. If you go to page 24 of the Daily Graphic.
Now, Godfred, before you go to the Ashanti region, maybe let's give the Mahama angle to the petition before we go into the other stories. Mahama files to amend error in petition at Supreme Court. This is on page 3 of the Chronicle. The story says the flag bearer of the NDC in the 2020 elections, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, is seeking leave of the Supreme Court to amend portions of the petition he had filed to challenge the validity of the December 7 presidential race. In the election petition, the former president filed on December 30 last year. The first respondent was the Electoral Commission, with the second respondent being President Akufo-Addo. But Relief F wants the court to order the EC to conduct a second election between Mahama and the first respondent, which, per what has been stated in the petition, turns out to be the EC. So they want to rectify those errors.
Yes, so the president is then thanking the Ashanti region. As we all know, they voted massively for him. President Ado Dankwa Akufo-Addo has expressed appreciation to the people of the Ashanti region for their vote to retain the new patriotic party in power. He said the government will reciprocate the massive support of the people through development projects as it began its second tenure in office. The president expressed their appreciation when he joined the Asante in Otumfuo Seitu II at the Menchia Palace in Kumasi to celebrate the first Akweside of 2021 yesterday.
Okay, we know that there are other things happening in the Ashanti region.
Yes, there was the Akweside, there was the fire,
the fire.
Yes.
at Queen's Republic Hall, KNUST, and also one at the Ababu Station. So let me give you the Ababu Station story before we take you to Savalugu. Fire gassed 3-story building at Ababu Station, destroys 30 stores, items worth thousands of cedis. Page 15 of the Ghanaian Times. The story by Kingsley Hope says that a fire swept through a 3-story building at the Ababu Station in the Kumasi metropolis, destroying items running into thousands of Ghana cedis yesterday. The building housed about 30 stores that deal in various kinds of goods, including rubber buckets, foam products, and related items. It also harbors most of the head porters who have made the place their haven. Now, no person was hurt as at the time of the fire. All the head porters were out of the building. The building started collapsing while the fire service personnel were trying their best to control the fire. And from a distance, all one could see was thick smoke in the sky, with people rushing to have a view of the scene. Interestingly, it was a nose mask-free atmosphere, as most of the people there were not wearing nose masks.
Well, there's a lot happening in education as well, Nathan. As you know, a lot of schools are prepping to reopen, and the Daily Graphic has a lot of stories. So let me take you to the universities. The universities begin registration of freshers. That's on page 25 of the Daily Graphic. First students of some public universities have started arriving on the various campuses for registration and preparation for academic work in compliance with the directive by President Ado Dankwa Akufo-Addo for schools to reopen. Meanwhile, some of the universities have asked their freshers to report on their campuses today. So at the University of Cape Coast, the freshmen went through registration process without difficulty, as they described the exercise as smooth. At the University of Ghana, freshers will begin arriving today and prepare for orientation on January 14, 2021. Now, the Daily Graphic also report from Bolgatanga that 1,500 fresh students are expected to report on the campuses of 2 universities in the Upper East region for the new academic year. Now, a lot of innovation is going on regarding this. On page 26 of the same paper, University of Ghana alters grading system. The University of Ghana has altered its grading system for students to reflect the peculiarity of the time occasioned by the outbreak of the coronavirus. Consequently, grades for assignments will now be marked over 70%, while the examination takes 30%. This is a reversal of the norm where assignments were marked over 30%, while the examination took 70%. This is to make for the limited time the students have to assimilate everything they have been taught within the 7 weeks. And finally, on page 38 of the same paper, universities innovate to contain congestion, COVID-19. So this is a new desk report, and it says, for instance, at the KNUST, like other universities, was expected to welcome its first-year students on campus. The head of university relations of the KNUST, Dr. Daniel Norris Bequin, told the Daily Graphic that long before the COVID-19 pandemic, the university had plans to scale up the use of technology in its academic activities, and had thus laid the foundation for the virtual activity christened V-Class. So the V-Class was adopted by the university to complete the 2020 academic year when all schools were closed down. The University of Ghana also has come up with its own plans, as has the Accra Technical University. So you can get a copy of the paper and check out what your university is doing to innovate and to contain COVID-19.
Now, from the universities, let's go to the senior high schools. Reopening of senior high schools in Volta region. Government disinfects, provides all schools with PPE. This is also going on in other regions. And the senior high school students will be safe when they return to school this week. This is according to the assistant headmaster of Mafi Kumasi Technical Senior High School in the Volta region, Daniel Naniwodo. He says the return of students to school is to enable them complete their academic calendars, and the government is coordinating with other agencies to ensure there is adequate supply of PPE in the schools.
Now, speaking of PPEs and COVID, don't ignore COVID-19 protocols. Disease still active. That is one story you also find in the Daily Graphic today. A lot of stories in the Daily Graphic today, so I'm dwelling on that. COVID-19 cases in the Western region are resurfacing after months of zero cases. The region's situation report as of last Friday indicated 48 active cases from 3 areas. Out of the active cases, 38 have been reported in the Sekendita Kwade metropolis, 6 in the Fiakwesiminti municipality, and 2 in the Elembele district. So this is what is happening, and it is not just in the Western region. Basically, in the Greater Accra and other regions.
And in the same region, we are told that COVID-19 is hindering the STM's revenue collection efforts.
Hey.
They were unable to collect revenue because of COVID-19. So that is an interesting story there. Now on assemblies, you know, last year there was a story we did of the KMA, and we said that they owed so much. Now, this morning, one of the newspapers has a story that KMA's debt has been reduced to 54 million Ghana cedis. So KMA owes money, but it's now been reduced to 54 million Ghana cedis. Nathan.
Well, if you go to the East Africa, since we are talking about COVID, the African CDC, or the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, in partnership with the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine and Orb International, they've done a bit of a survey or a study, and they said that at least 8 in 10 people will take a COVID-19 vaccine if it is publicly available and deemed safe and effective. So that's what they are saying. Now, according to the Vaccine Confidence Project, safety was of the utmost consideration. On average, 18% of Africans believe vaccines generally are not safe, and 25% think that a COVID-19 vaccine will be unsafe. And from the survey carried out in 15 African countries, men, young people, and people who believe that the threat from COVID-19 is exaggerated are more likely to believe in disinformation compared with the rest of the population, and those who will not take the vaccine cited safety as a leading concern.
All right,
Let's go to some business, Godfred.
yes, there is business and still a lot of politics, but you go on with the business.
Okay, finish the politics. Then we go to the
Well, if you go to the politics, the president says has tasked former ministers to take charge of ministries, while cabinet has also been dissolved. If you go to page 3 of the Daily Guide, story by Fortuna Limi says that President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has relieved all his ministerial appointees pending the appointment of new ones. To this end, all ministers have presented their handing over notes to the office of the Administrator General. Daily Guide Online has learnt, in order not to create any gap that will impede the smooth running of state affairs as the president begins his second term in office, he has equally appointed some of the outgoing ministers to oversee the affairs of the ministries as the process to nominate substantive ministers receives top priority.
Okay, so I'll give some political headlines and then we'll get to business. NPP candidate petitions court against Savelugu constituency election results. So Savelugu is going to court. MP's drama in electing speaker is distasteful and disgraceful. This is the Christian Council speaking. And the Christian Council has condemned the chaotic contention among MPs over the election of a speaker, describing the behavior as distasteful and disgraceful.
And then let me just give you one quick story before Kojo enters with the business. Some residents in Accra complain of no access to water. This has been going on for a while now. Page 46 of the Daily Graphic. Some residents in Accra have complained about their inability to have access to water ever since the government announced the free utility package for consumers.
Okay.
Residents who dwell in areas such as Bubuashi, Adentan, Kuntunse, and some parts of Amasaman and some far-flung areas in Accra have expressed their dissatisfaction with the situation. Although they are not being billed for their use of water from the Ghana Water Company Limited since the directive took effect, they said their pipes had constantly not been flowing with water, and this was having an adverse effect on their businesses. So you're not paying for the water, but the water is not flowing. Hey.
Slow.
Anyway, let's go to business now. The World Bank has revised Ghana's growth rate for 2021.
Okay.
This is captured on the front page of the Economy Times. It says the World Bank in its latest Global Economic Prospects report has further downgraded Ghana's growth rate, cutting it to a staggering 1.4% for this year from the earlier forecast of 4%. According to the World Bank, the expected resilience in agric will not be sufficient to offset the COVID-19 pandemic's lingering adverse impact on the oil and other sectors of the economy. Now, more stories. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area is in effect. GRE to complement after trading in Ghana. And the former Minister for Trade and Industry, Alan Kojo Chamating, has disclosed that the government of Ghana has designated the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority as the competent authority for the issuance of rules of origin certificate under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. On AFTA, small and medium-scale enterprises to be protected under AFTA. This is according to the Secretariat. Now, if you think about all these business stories, so AFTA is in effect in Africa, Brexit is in effect in Europe. And this morning I was listening to George Poyer of Golden Exotics. They employ about 3,000 people. And he says that Golden Exotics may have to shut down in a matter of weeks because of the Brexit. Now, the trading arrangement with UK is different, and they pay about £1 or £2 tariff on each box of fruits they take up there. Now, if this is not dealt with, they may have to shut down, and 3,000 staff will lose their jobs. Wow. So we have to look at some of these issues and address them.
Quite troubling.
Staying with business headlines, page 9 of the Daily Guide says that GIIF to scrutinize new port tariffs. We all know how the ports get. The Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders has said it will scrutinize the new version of port tariffs before its implementation this year. This comes after a recent announcement by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority stating that tariffs on imports and exports of cargo will see an increase at the Tema and Takoradi ports from March. Port dues on cargo will, from the stated month, cost $10 per 20-foot equivalent unit. Stevedoring charges will be $15 per 20-foot equivalent unit, and cranage and terminal handling charges will be $5 per 20-foot equivalent unit each. We'll hear from them very, very soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, as we wrap it up quickly, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has shared with lawmakers plans to remove President Donald Trump from office before starting an impeachment process. Now, the House of Reps will vote on a resolution calling on Vice President Mike Pence to remove Mr. Trump's presidential powers, and if that fails, the Democrats will introduce a charge of incitement of insurrection against Mr. Trump over his role in the storming of the Capitol. Well,
America is interesting.
Hey. Anyway, thank you, Godfred. Thank you, Kojo. That was the newspaper.
Thank you, big man.
Brought to you by Total and ADB. Up next is the Citi Business News.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest